Let me introduce myself. My name is Venkat. I am one of the co-founders of this organization 2.5 years ago, along with Satish, where we work together in Microsoft. My background is basically I come from the corporate background where I had worked with companies like Microsoft, Dell, Honeywell, mostly into software engineering and product development areas. We started this organization a couple of years back out of our passion to see how we can leverage technology and bring people together, and as we see technology could solve a whole lot of world's problems, and we have chronic social issues out here right in this country, and see you could evolve a model that could address this fundamental issue, and we chose that education as a field, and then started evolving a model. And last 1 year I have been pursuing this in full time in leading its 3-year scaling linear scale implementation plan. I am basically based out of Bangalore, and so that's a brief about myself. In the next 15-20 minutes I will cover a holistic perspective about eVidyaloka. You all would have gone through the websites, heard from your references, etc. We will try to make sure that you get additional insights with the advantage of having in person and talking face to face, one-on-one, and when share few things which may not explicitly come out from those static materials or videos that you would have gone through. Post those 20 minutes, we'll open up for a discussion to take question answers from each one of you for any queries you have. And after that, we would share basically what's the plan is and what would be the next steps for you in the overall onboarding process, actually. Right? So let's get started. So we use this opportunity, as I said, to share a little wider perspective about the larger context of eVidyaloka. So if I have to take 2 steps back to briefly kind of understand the larger educational landscape in India, actually. So if you look at here, the late 60s is when we really identified education as an important pillar and a subject that as a national priority that should contribute to the planned industrialized growth and development, and that's when we started identifying reforms in that space and included in the 5-year planning commission outlay of budgets, actually. So once we started seeing in, and then we saw, we had the school system reforms, encouragement was there, but there are a lot of challenges in children coming to the school in itself, and that's when you would see in the late 80s, 70s and 80s, there was a lot of focus on or investments from the government side on promoting enrollment to the children, where the primary reasons were nutrition and socio-economic reasons were preventing the children from coming into the school. So you would see schemes like the midday meal scheme, free uniforms and egg a day, and a lot of incentives for the child to come to the school and addressing the concerns of nourishment. So I think there was a significant impact on these schemes, and we started having the children coming into the school. And if you see the early 90s, the decade of 90, the focus had been largely on renovating the infrastructure of these schools. Most of our schools in our system are 80 years, 100 years old, and pretty much in dilapidated conditions. So you had schemes like the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and which focused on fixing the infrastructure, painting of the buildings, enabling drinking water, girls' toilet, ramp for the disabled. You would find many investments on these, and you would also find a lot of NGOs working in the space of providing benches, providing ceiling fans, and all sort of things that provides a cleaner infrastructure for the students to learn. So late 20s, 2000, if you see, and where we are today in this decade, late 2000 and then this 2010 in this decade, if you see here, today the children are coming to the school, they have a place to be there, they are craving to learn, but is the learning really happening of expected standards? I think we all kind of are familiar with perceptions of the learning outcome of the children are definitely not up to the mark and suboptimal. And how can we say that or clearly that based on our own experiences in the last few years and visiting the field and going to the school on one side, and if you go to the objective reports and statistics on the other side, the credible one being the ASAR, which is published by Pratham and another NGO through the President of India, which clearly calls out that a 5th grade child, 50% of the 5th grade children cannot read a standard 2 text. More than 70% of the grade 5 children do not know division. When you say division, it's basically a 2-digit division, numerator and denominator actually, right? Which clearly kind of calls for that the call for action at this point in time is predominantly around the quality in education, the learning outcome of the child actually, right? Now to see things in perspective about the magnitude of the space that we are talking about, is we are talking about today close to 1.3 million schools in this country, and out of which 85% of them are in rural villages. So we are here today to talk about those million schools, and out of which 90% of them are government schools. The focus children, I mean, that eVidyaloka focuses is on 6th to 8th grade or sometimes 5th to 8th grade. That roughly is around 70 to 80 million children actually, right? So today we are going to talk about those 70 to 80 million children and what we are at eVidyaloka trying to do. So if you trace back, so that's kind of is to give the magnitude of the problem that we are talking about actually, right? And if you trace back to, okay, why is the quality, there is an impact in quality in learning outcome, right? Predominantly it traces back to 4 major reasons actually, right? So corroborated by again research reports by ICSA Foundation, McKinsey, done a few years back, is a credible reference, and we also kind of corroborate with our own experiences again, is the predominant one being the shortage of teachers in these villages, followed by, I mean, you have the existing set of teachers, the quality in teaching or the lack of accountability of the teachers towards the learning outcome of the child. There are various reasons, I mean, the support systems around them could be contributing to it, but eventually there is a direct relation between how the children are being taught and what they are learning actually. The third one being the school leadership, where the headmaster had the opportunity to kind of drive changes, and followed by the school dropouts, which are driven largely through the socioeconomic conditions. Fortunately, the fourth reason is kind of tapering out in the last few decades. The dropout challenge has shifted from primary, that is 3rd standard, 4th standard, to 6th standard, 7th standard, to now 8th standard actually, right? Children are at least coming to the school until 8th standard. The idea is how can we ensure quality education and arrest the subsequent school dropouts as well, but at this point in time at least that is kind of tapping. So that's when, I mean, that's where eVidyaloka comes into picture. We believe that, hey, we may not have, so let's look at solving this, and we picked up the top 2 reasons, right, which is the shortage in teachers and the quality in teaching. And we said, hey, you may not have teachers or the quality people pursuing the profession of teacher in those villages per se, but we do have people who are across elsewhere in cities and various parts of the world, and what the people we have here is a great representation of the same actually, right? So we have people across different cities in India. Normally in this call you also have people across time zones actually, right?
Probably we just have Lalita today in different time zones, but it's pretty interesting also to see people are there in cities, passionate about teacher, want to give back to the society, and here are these deserving children in government schools who are yearning to learn, right? So, and that's where we said, hey, why can't we look at bringing this set of population on one side, or passionate and wanting to give the time but do not know how and where to go, and on the other side there is a craving, deserving set of children who deserve the every opportunity that like any other kid in the town, and we said we would look at solutions or a model that would enable this orchestration to happen. So eVidyaloka is all about basically being a bridging platform which enables this online teaching. The innovation is not just necessarily the online teaching. Online teaching has been there for quite a while, and people do learn music, chess, and different other aspects that happens on a transactional basis. But it's about, hey, how can we take this online teaching to large number of students, where we can bring large number of teachers, reach out to large number of children, is the objective, is the primary driving force. Hence, we actually are evolved a delivery model underneath that enables this online teaching to be more replicable and scalable for the magnitude of the problem we are talking about actually. So, so what do we mean by the delivery model or an operating platform?
is essentially where we had did a pilot and evolved or refined our model, wherein by we try to define that by 5 key tenets. If I have to walk through those tenets, the first one being fundamentally saying that, hey, we will work only in the remote and rural areas and understand the challenges involved in it. And the reason being the rural, starting off with rural here is, in the urban and semi-urban, you do have other alternatives of private education. Whereas if you go to a village, the government school is the only avenue for the child to learn, right? So we said we'll start from there and understand what it takes to deliver, right? Now, second key tenet is, when you want to go to the village, being a remote organization sitting in Bangalore, why would someone in a village trust you, right? We clearly understood that the model can become really sustainable when we engage the local partners, the local community, right? And that's when we established this partnership model, where we reach out to a local partner or an NGO or an organization or an community which has a vested interest in seeing their community successful, where they have the trust and relationship and access to the children. And we at eVidyaloka positioned ourselves as to be a back-end person who will focus on the academic aspects of this whole learning, where we will focus on reaching out to people like you, bring teachers, establish timetables, track the children's progress, put the curriculum plan in place, measure their outcome, the entire academic process of it. And we, I said, hey, okay, you bring, it creates a win-win synergy where the face of the project become the local partner, and we will be the back-end service provider of this educational value. So this plays a very key role because it now one puts the people who are closer to the village, who has larger stake in seeing their community successful or in the face of the village, and they have and their scope is limited to that village, the digital classroom, etc. So it becomes a lot easier to handle and manage the same. The third key tenet is about that we will say with the medium of instruction here would be the local language, where our teachers will basically speak the same language as what the child understands actually, right? And it's also the medium of instruction of the local state board curriculum. So we make sure that the child, when it comes into the classroom, get to hear the same as what they otherwise would be also be being taught and here in the school or from the current existing set of teachers. This ensures that the child is comfortable and at the same time getting a high quality learning experience actually. The fourth key tenet is largely around eVidyaloka as an organization, right? While myself or Satish and Venkat would have started this organization, but eventually the class delivery happens from people like you. The content development happens from people, volunteers spread across it. We strongly believe that if people can come together for this common cause of enabling quality education to the child, we do it together as a people, right? So where we said eVidyaloka will be an enabling platform where it's all about connecting a teacher to a child, right? When a class is established and you are connected to those 15-20 children online, it's between you and the children within the class, right? So we don't come in between, and you are responsible for those 15 children, and hence we believe that we would like to empower this is an empowering platform where each one of you come and volunteer, teach the children, and there is a strong sense of belongingness and ownership, where it's your eVidyaloka. So we have this concept called My eVidyaloka. Once you're onboarded, you get your eVidyaloka, where you get your classroom students topics, etc. actually of your own, and you own that center or you own that class, etc. And same philosophy applies for everyone who is participating in this platform. So we are extremely passionate about onboarding as many people as possible onto this platform on various capacities and roles, and realize this dream for our children in these rural villages. Last is basically it's all about local empowerment. We believe that there has to be a strong community involvement, where when we say local community, it's about the parents of the children, it's the headmaster of the school, it's the village panchayat, sarpanch, whatever is the local administrative body or the village education committee. We strive to kind of involve them as much as into the process, but at this point in time, it's a philosophy in place, may not be consistently applied across different places, but that's there in our clearly the radar, which we believe makes a significant difference in making this model work. So by and large, I mean, that's what we essentially call as eVidyaloka delivery model. If I have to tell how it really this model works, We basically identify a location where there is a person with a vested interest who wants to see the local village being successful. There is broadband connection available. These two are the checkpoints to go to a village. Once we have it, then we basically set up what we call it as a digital classroom, which is nothing but a simple multimedia setup where a CPU projected on a screen with a wide angle camera and a high quality noise cancellation mic. We simplified it to the extent that this technology is not invasive enough and the child focuses on the learning and less on technology, and it's powered by broadband. So the children will come into the class like a normal classroom. Instead of a physical teacher, they will see a teacher on the screen with whom they can engage and interact. Once we have this infrastructure in place, we then work with the local partner to tell. It's mostly the school centers, the classrooms are set up inside the government school with the permission of the headmaster and the local administrative officer, which is a block education officer. And once we work with them and then say, hey, what time the children can be available. It could be 2 to 3 hours in a day. Say Monday to Friday, we take that availability of the children. Then we come back and work with people like you and then suggest, hey, can you give 2 hours in a week online and on your preferences, and we basically then do the job of mapping these two. So we consolidate 5 to 6 such teachers, make a holistic offering to a center teaching maths, science and English for 6th, 7th and 8th, and one subject and a grade will basically be 2 hours or 2 classes in a week. So a teacher will basically be teaching a 6th maths or a 7th science or an 8th math English, and the minimum commitment that we seek is for 6 weeks. And then we revisit based on how your schedules have been, what's your commitment levels, how your ability to meet, and how the children's response has been, and then we renew it at the end of every 6 weeks. We have almost 70% of the teachers mostly continue at least for 2 terms of the year, and we have almost 50% continue for the entire year. So we work on a model where there is a continuity that exists. So we have the children, we have the teachers. What goes in between is the content. As we said, we do not innovate or create any new pedagogy or content. We leverage or we refer to the same curriculum as of the state board, what is being taught in the school. What we do is basically enrich that with multimedia contents like videos and pictures, etc., which is also created by content volunteers. And we have a platform called Wikividya, which is an aggregating platform in the lines of Wikipedia, where it is organized in the form of boards, grades, subjects and chapters underneath, and each topic will have basically a reference to the textbook, lesson plan, transliteration, videos, pictures, assessments, worksheets, etc. And our content volunteers contribute to these, which are then used by the teachers as an immediate reference which they can use for delivering it. It's an ongoing process. We are in the process of building in it. What we have right now is all the textbooks are available online, made available by the government of respective the state governments. This whole process is basically enabled by an underneath IT platform called My eVidyaloka, which basically digitizes the processes that are involved in enabling this remote online classes. The whole model, if you see here, if I have to summarize, basically the people form a very significant role in enabling the quality education, where they drive the whole effectiveness of the model, and the technology piece underneath the IT platform and the tools that are used essentially promote efficiency that enables replicability and scalability of this whole model actually, right? So that in essence kind of summarizes why, what and really how eVidyaloka works. I probably can take a short break here and open up for questions. And we probably can discuss and cover a few things based out of your queries and questions, and then after 10 minutes we can move on to the next steps of what we need to be done. To give just a quick summary, basically in pilot we did 5 centers across 3 different states, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Jharkhand, the results have been encouraging. How we measure this model is basically we have 2 lead measures and 2 lag measures. Lead measures are basically saying, hey, I planned X number of classes and I delivered Y number of classes, and is my class efficiency is more than 70% or not. The second lead measure is, are we able to provide continuous supply of teachers to these villages, is one measure. What is my teacher churn? and also what are the teacher effectiveness in terms of the feedback, their contributions to contents, their adherence to the taking of schedule, feedback from the children, etc. And as a lag measure, we measure the attendance of the children. Even though we are in government schools, the attendance is not compulsory for the children. They come if they like the class and if there is value that's being created. So our children attendance forms a key parameter to measure the effectiveness of the model. And of course, we have the assessments that are conducted at the end of every term, where on the topics that are covered, we measure our children how they are performing on these assessments. They are not examinations or exhaustive coverage. They are basically dipstick assessments to really capture whether the child have really got what the teacher has been trying to teach. So these are the 4 metrics on which we measure this model. We found encouraging results at the end of 2 years, which ended in 2013. We have embarked on a 3-year journey where we said, okay, now we will go and productionize this model, and we have completed our first academic year where we have scaled up to 13 locations covering close to 600 children taught by roughly 100 teachers through the year. Are just about in the stage of consolidating the results for this year. The second year plan is to basically increase another 15 to 17 locations, taking up to a total of 30 villages, covering roughly 1,300 children and close to 200 plus teachers. So hence we are kind of going ahead, and that's where we are here, to reaching out to more people and bring more people on board, and we have a long way to go. Idea is at the end of 3 years, if you are able to demonstrate that, hey, you are able to scale this model to 50 locations covering around 2,500 children, 500 teachers teaching, and able to achieve still those 4 metrics on the target measures that we have set for ourselves, we believe that this platform will be in a better place to go to say to the government, saying that, hey, here is an additional set of alternate solution for your teacher shortage. Can we look at scaling up to an exponential number actually? So that's really is the kind of plan. As I'll hold off here, we'll open up for questions, and we'll go forward from there actually. Over to you folks.